Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Kirby's Dream Land 3. The last part we started off the Sandy Canyon and got about 4 levels deep into it, I believe. And now we're in level 5, which, this is the one where we actually need to complete the level with a certain animal buddy, as usual, 5th levels. For this one we need Choo Choo, who you could potentially bring in earlier, but she is available at a certain point in the stage, so we don't need to go too far out of our way to get her. It's around this point in the game, though, that I really start to lose steam on playing it, because I have actually attempted to do playthroughs of this game, not for the channel, just in general, numerous times, but by the time I get to this point in Sandy Canyon, I'm worn out of it, mostly due to the fairly lengthy levels. Which is an issue I have had with other games, to be fair. I even have that issue with a lot of Mega Man stages that go on a bit too long, particularly in the X series. But in Kirby, for some reason, I guess because it's just not as complicated a platformer, it seems to stick out more in my eyes. Later games do better with it in my eyes as well, though, because the last recent Kirby game I played was Squeak Squad. What came first, Squeak Squad or? You know what? I'm getting a Kirby series timeline up because I need to know. Kirby series release dates. Because it was one of the ones on the DS, but I can't recall which one it was. It was... Yeah, it was Squeak Squad or Superstar Ultra, one of the two of those. Oh god, those were over 10 years ago. Okay. I can go back to those more easily because the stage designs are nowhere near as lengthy. And from what I've seen of Return to Dreamland on, because I've only played a little bit of Return to Dreamland, even then it's not enough to really consider it a full playthrough. It seems better at it, but I have no way of knowing myself. Also, Choo Choo Fire is just a funny-ass power-up. I love this. This is hilarious. Getting through this level with Choo Choo, though, can actually be kind of annoying if you don't know something pretty important about Choo Choo, which is very easy not to know if you haven't been paying attention to the game so far. And that's that she can stick to ceilings. If you don't know that, completing this level with her can be annoying, if not impossible. We'll get into why in a moment. Because this room is huge. There's also a lot of those weird snow sprite things that can damage you normally, but when you hit them, they split into 3 miniature versions that can still hurt you, and yeah, that's not annoying at all. Thankfully, Choo Choo Cutter is kind of good for coverage. I also think it's one of her few abilities that's not very mobility-based. I believe Choo Choo, by the way, can only jump 2 extra times, like with thoguh, but I can't recall that off the top of my head. I so rarely use Choo Choo that it doesn't tend to matter overall. Okay, maybe it's 3 times. Either way, not the most useful. I think this is one of the, like, 2, if even, levels where you're required to use Choo Choo as well, so... At least you don't have to use her too much if you're not a fan of her. This is also a song I'm not very fond of. There's just something about it that annoys me. Either way, we're done with that level. And for getting Choo Choo all the way through, we get our Heart Star. With that, though, we're probably going into what is the most annoying level to get the Heart Star in, at least in terms of length, because we're here in this next level, I want to say until around the 10-minute mark, and even then, I do some editing in this stage. We'll get into why it takes so long when we get to the actual area where the mission takes place, though. Because starting off, this level doesn't seem that bad at all. Now take that spark. Oh, well, that's actually kind of nice. It's laser before laser, even though I think laser was already a thing by this point. In fact, yeah, it was, wasn't it? If they ever do bring back the Animal Buddy concept, I do hope they actually can implement it better than it is here. Because the Animal Buddies are interesting ideas, I just wish they were better implemented. Because Dreamland 2, they were useful, yeah. In Dreamland 3, they can be useful, but there's 1 or 2 that are just outright better. And welcome to the main part of this level, which you can actually even see on the world map screen. The pyramid, which, wow, that is a trippy-ass background. Starting off, it's not a very bad area. In fact, if you just go straight on through, it's a very short one, if I recall. But when you get into here is where things get lengthy. What we have here is one of those Donkey Kong Country barrel slimes again. And this one actually will face in different directions, as long as you're in it. And that sounds weird, but you do actually need it for something. I could have done it right there, even. But what we want to do primarily is head into the lower sequence. This is me not yet realizing that I can aim myself, because at this point I think it's just random, because I had played this game in a while. We need to get to the bottom door, because down there is our main method of getting our mission in this area done. Now, if only I could actually aim myself. And here's me realizing, oh, right. In this room, we have me dying, as you can probably tell by the fact that my health regenerated. Every power-up in the game. And at the bottom of this room, there's another door that leads to 2 other doors that have every animal buddy in the game. The room with the green slime in it, the bottom door leads here. The door on the left leads to the area we came from. The door on the right leads to the next area. But all the other little inlets, the 5 of them, all lead to little sub-pathways that lead to what our mission objective is for this level. And we need to do them all in order to actually get the mission completed. So, let's get Parasol and Kine and head back to the main hub. This is why this stage took a while to beat, over 10 minutes I believe in actual footage, because I was backtracking constantly. You could get this, I believe, with just Choo Choo, but you can also just Parasol Kine over everything. Like so. For some reason, the image of Kine with the parasol reminds me of Fantastic Mr. Limpet, and I can't quite tell why. Okay, no, you do need Kine, because otherwise you won't be able to get through this. That's an arm. There are 5 pieces of a robot throughout the 5 doorways that we need to get. For the next one, we need Koo and Rock in order to get it here in the bottom left. This can actually be a very lethal one to get, though, because there's a bottomless pit right below me right now, and I need to not destroy that last room of platforms, which is harder than it would seem. Thankfully, once you get past those stone blocks, you don't need the stone power-up at all. Also, I forget, can you actually still destroy star blocks just by jumping into them in the more recent games? That feels like something that was taken out for some reason, and I can't quite place my finger on why I feel like that. And in here, we got Wind, which is why I need Koo and another arm. Now, people who are familiar with Nintendo probably recognize those arms really quickly, but we'll see more about what it actually is later. The next power-up we don't need an animal buddy, but we do want to go to the top left with the Cutter ability. Now, you don't need Cutter. This is admittedly just memorization, because what you technically would need here is, I think it's Kine and Spark in order to tell which door is the real door. But you could just know the pattern like I do. I think it's like center, left, right, something else. Either way, it's always said it's not a random pattern, so if you've played the game before, you can actually figure this out really easily. If you haven't, well, it's just trial and error at that point. The next one we still need Kirby alone, but you don't need Cutter on its own, I believe. We're heading for the top right, which is probably the most annoying one to do. Why? It's very similar in structure to the one in the darkness, however, this time you need to decide which power-up you want to choose out of the ones. However, if you get the wrong answer in either this or the darkness area, you go into a hallway that makes you fall all the way back down to the entrance of the area. So, if you don't trial and error correctly, this can take a while. It doesn't help that there are times, I believe, where you need to use an ability that's kind of hard to hit stuff with. Like I believe there's one instance coming up, I think it's this room even, where you need to use stone in order to destroy some stone blocks. However, doing that from the ground is weird, because I believe you actually have to knock into it with your actual stone self, which requires timing yourself properly. Either way, thankfully, it's over fairly quickly. And the next piece of the robot, which is also the final one, is probably the easiest to get, because you can get it with just Kirby standalone. In fact, that's why I'm not editing back to the main hub, because I'm not going back down to the little area again. Just need to head on up here. And we got a bit of an auto-scroller. You can go through any of the floor here, it doesn't matter, just try and go through the blue. It's a bit of a training for stuff that's coming up. That background really is trippy, though. Holy hell. Gee, I wonder what the robot is. That head totally doesn't look familiar at all, and like it's been in a lot of Nintendo products. Honestly, getting the head, though, is harder when you're going back down from getting it, because you can only fall through the blue platforms. The red ones you can only go up through. Thankfully, it's still a Kirby game, so it's not too hard until endgame, normally. And at this point, we can just head on to the rest of the stage. Overall, this level is annoying just because of how long it can take, but it's actually not a very bad level when you're either going through it or trying to get them. It's just one of those stages where it probably should have been a little bit shorter. Which, kind of a common thing in this game now that I think about it. As I've stated even. Like the music, though. It's weird. I mentioned before, I don't really like this game's remixes, but when they're nice and soothing like this, I don't mind the songs that much. Mind you, that also kind of goes against part of what I consider Kirby music, because to me, Kirby music is always, not always, very often very energetic. And to have it be soothing just feels weird, but at the same time, if the composition's good, it's good, you know what I mean? Either way, that's the final level of Sandy Canyon, and yeah, it was Rob all along. Good to see you, guy. See you in another... How many years after this was Pikmin? Like 3 or 4? Somewhere in that range. Even I don't even think he was in the first Pikmin. I don't think one of his pieces showed up until Pikmin 2. Either way, time for the boss, Pon and Con. Which is not one name, it's actually Pon and Con. Because this is like the Sun and Moon boss from the older Kirby games, where you have 2 enemies you need to destroy with their little minions like this. One's Pon, one's Con. I'm going to take a guess and say Con is the raccoon, and Pon's the... I'm assuming it's supposed to be a fox. The bigger annoyance in this stage is not Pon and Con themselves, but the bombs that drop from the 3 holes in the ceiling, because they're pretty hard to predict. And sometimes they fall through platforms, sometimes they don't. I'm not exactly sure what causes it. I think the center one never falls, but I swear I feel like it should. The other annoyance that could potentially be annoying is that each of the 2 bosses technically has their own health bar, taking up half of the health bar that's at the bottom of the screen. And forgetting which one is which can actually be kind of fatal if, say, you're at your last health point and you aim at the wrong one at the last second. Yeah, see, look, it fell through. It might have to do with the fact that I was below it, though. It might be the thing. Or the amount of health it taken off the boss fight. The only other annoying thing in this fight, really, that, well, it's not even really annoying, a bit of a challenge, is whether or not you actually get Pon and Con to spawn in a position where you can easily hit them with the minions you've tried to eat and now expelled from your body like vomit, really. It always reminds me, whenever I think of Kirby as someone who eats people, it always reminds me of There Will Be Brawl, and that makes me happy, because that series was grimdark, yes, but entertaining. Plus, Kirby as Hannibal Lecter makes more sense than it really should. Either way, that's Sandy Canyon. Not my favorite world in the game, but it's playable. Very playable, even. It's just that some of the mission objectives can be kind of annoying in it. And with that, I believe we are on to our next world, which is the cloud level, I believe, for this game. I guess we'll find out right now, shan't we? I really like this song. This song makes me happy. However, I don't like this world very much because some of the mission objectives here are annoying, especially here in the first level. Which, by the way, if I recall, we're here for the entirety of the rest of the part. What you do need for this stage is Broom. You get it very early on. There's also one later on in the room where the mission objective actually is. But I'm just going to keep it from here because it just feels more convenient. There's also a lot of animal buddies in this stage, which I guess can be helpful. I've said it before, I'm not the biggest fan of Rick, even though I like what his broom power-up is. That's cute. But the more I think about it, honestly, I can see why they tried to make this game's levels longer, because it's not on a handheld game. Shorter stage designs lend itself more to a handheld kind of adventure. Like, well, most of the other Kirby games, actually. Which, I can understand that, but there's a point where it just stops being interesting. I know I've complained about the level length in this game a lot, but it's my major complaint with the game. I'm gonna take thoguh, though, because I like cats more than hamsters. Hamsters are good. Or just Rick and Gerbil. Either way. I like rodents, but I'm a cat fan myself overall. After all, you remember, some of you guys might remember, I have a cat named Zelda that we found under my grandmother's porch. Back when I was Let's playing Mega Man Battle Network 3. Ah, memories. Also, I know I continuously gush about the way this game looks, and even though it's not a very impressive looking effect, I really like the background in this stage, I guess the foreground as well, because it reminds me of cotton candy. Even though I don't eat cotton candy much anymore because it's honestly horrible for you, it always reminds me of my youth, you know? I specifically remember both a good and bad memory of cotton candy at the same time, actually. People who are around the New England area in the US are probably familiar with the Big E, which is this big festival that happens every year or so, and I think it's New Hampshire is where it's actually held. But I always remember eating a lot of cotton candy there. However, I also have a bad memory associated with the exact same trip, because that's where my Pokemon Gold cartridge's save battery died. I was playing it on the way to the place, saved, I want to say it was Blackthorn City's Pokemon Center, somewhere around there. Went on in, because I didn't bring my Game Boy with me, and when I came back out, my save was gone, and I was a confused little boy. Thankfully, both my Pokemon Gold and Silver cartridges have had their save batteries replaced by my father since then, and now I can save in both of them, for now, at least. That was a heartbreaking event, though. Though thinking back, I distinctly recall an incident that may have been foreshadowing to the save battery dying. I'm not sure if anyone else has ever had this happen, though. I was in a Pokemon Center, healing my Pokemon, and my dad was telling me to go to sleep and such, when, I was using the Pokemon Center and saving right before it. However, the moment I started to actually use the Pokemon Center to heal, the game slowed down dramatically. Like, worse than Genesis kind of slow down. And I distinctly remember hearing all the individual notes of the Pokemon Center heal theme, and it scared the shit out of me. It was like, da, 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 only like 6 times slower. And saving took a while too, so I guess that was my save battery being on its real last legs there, which kind of creepy. That's almost some creepypasta shit there, but it's all fixed now, and if I ever experience it again, I'll probably still shit my pants, but for different reasons. Thankfully, because I know I haven't been talking about the stage that much because it's not a very interesting stage, we're almost at the point where the mission is. If you don't have Broom, you will thankfully get an opportunity in an upcoming room. Also, this is a bad position for me to be in at the moment. I do believe the moment I enter the next room, though, you're going to see a jump cut because I ended up dying. And the thing is about death in this game, not only do you lose your power-up, you lose your animal buddy. And just due to the level design in the next room, I wanted to have Ku. So I ended up replaying the entire stage because I wanted him for not only the rest of this stage, but I believe also a future one, but I forget about that right now. Either way, the mission for this stage is that in this room, there's flowers again, like in the very first stage of the game. However, they're blackened. You need to use the broom to clear the dust off of them, and while not stepping on them, continue on through the stage. I believe there's 5 or 6 of them total, and the moment you wipe off the last one, you'll know, because that usual tone of mission complete will play. The hardest part about this is not stepping on them, which is much harder than you'd think. It's not even that you don't have to even not step on them. You have to make sure you only use your ability once and that you're in range with them, because if you use it again, you will crush them. Okay, there are way more than 5 of these things. That was the last one either way. Let's continue on. Either way, with that and us getting the Heart Star of level 4-1, I'm going to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching. And in part 5, I'll be continuing on in the Cloudy Kingdom and heading into the rest of the stages in it, I believe, because I think we finish this place next part. See you guys then.